Welcome to Real Conversations, exploring the meaning behind the music. Hi, I'm Robert Brzezinski.
And I'm Jeanne Kataoka. And together, we're having real conversations with your favorite New Thought artists.
Join us as we take a deep dive into the inspiration and meaning behind the music of New Thought. Our guests are ready to share stories from their spiritual journey and creative process with you.
Real Conversations is a chance to look behind the curtain and connect with your favorite New Thought artists.
So let's dive right in. Real Conversations, exploring the meaning behind the music. And hello again, dear ones. Robert Brzezinski here with you.
And I'm Jeanne Kataoka.
And this is Real Conversations, the meaning behind the music, an opportunity to sit down with your favorite New Thought artists and explore exactly the meaning and the message behind much of their great music. Today we've got the wonderful, the amazing, the much talked about and much heralded Daniel Nahmod with us. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to let Jeanne share a little bit about Daniel, make sure we're all on the same page, and then we'll get into some chatting and some music.
Here we go, a little biographical information on singer, songwriter, producer, and humanitarian Daniel Nahmod. Has performed his profound, heart-opening original music for over 1 million people in 45 U.S. states and Canada since beginning his music career in 1999. Selling 110 CDs and 10,000 printed songbooks to date, and receiving literally thousands of standing ovations along the way. His songs are recorded and performed all over the world on a weekly basis. Recent media appearances of Daniel's music include Saturday Night Live, The Voice, American Idol, the Super Bowl, and The Today Show. Daniel's poetic and evocative message of peace, love, and compassion across all nations, cultures, and faiths has found overwhelming acceptance wherever he has performed. Youth rallies, 9/11 services, and a keynote musical presenter at benefits for such organizations as Habitat for Humanity, Operation USA, Achievable, and Anti-Defamation League. Daniel has also performed for various U.S. governors and mayors and for congressmen in Washington, D.C. Daniel has presented his spectacular music and message for nearly all of the world's major faiths, including Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish, Baha'i, and Mormon audiences, and has worked with some of the most influential and brilliant speakers and leaders in the world. In 2000, Daniel was nominated as National Hospital Volunteer of the Year for his musical work for Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. In response to Hurricane Katrina in 2005, Daniel visited the Houston Astrodome for 2 days, walking among the survivors, talking, shaking hands, and singing songs. Following late 2004's humanitarian crisis in Asia following the earthquake and tsunami, Daniel organized, produced, and hosted 2 soul-stirring benefit concerts, raising over $15,000 for Operation USA, a Los Angeles-based relief agency working in Indonesia and Sri Lanka. So let's jump into the music. And Daniel, tell me, this is one of my favorites. Tell me about Diving Board. I love the bluesy sound, the harmonica. Was that an electronic Hammond B3 in there that I heard? I just love it.
Yeah, Diving Board is a song. I've actually only performed it a couple times ever since releasing that. That was on the Time for Fire album. And it also... I don't know if you are familiar with the story of the Beatles recording their first album, but they recorded basically 14 songs in one day. If I remember correctly, the number's 14. And the last thing they did live at the end of the day was John Lennon screaming "Twist and Shout," and he lost his voice for a week or two after that vocal.
Oh wow!
That he recorded, and Diving Board kind of did that to me. That was not my normal style to sing. yeah, it's very bluesy. I'd only written really one other bluesy song ever for a church audience, and that was a song for my very first album called God Makes Me Want to Sing, which I used to perform all the time. And yeah, diving. In fact, one of my favorite parts of Diving Board, and it might be even the reason why I don't perform it too often, is that the background vocals on Diving Board have some of my favorite lines of the song. And of course, you can't sing background vocals when you're singing a song live.
Right.
But yeah, I'm actually quite proud of that song. And I'm not sure, by the way, whether the song needs to be a spiritual song as much as it is about the love that they're receiving from someone. In other words, whatever source it is,
Right.
And that was
right.
that was
I
intentional.
definitely get that.
Yeah, that was intentional. Not for it to be mysterious what it's talking about. But when I say your love is a diving board, love can feel that way. That is to say, it can have this powerful, inspiring or liberating or strengthening or reinforcing feeling. And that's really just what I was looking for and trying to capture. And it's why I intentionally cut loose with the vocal, because the guy singing that song is feeling like he can do anything.
Your love is a diving board. I'm gonna dive right in. Your love is a diving board. I'm gonna dive right in. All right. It's been a lifetime.
Yeah, you don't get much bluesier than that. I just love that song. So talking about love, let's talk about, and I understand this song actually has special meaning for Robert. Love is my decision.
Yeah, I remember only vaguely writing it because I was in my old little apartment in West Hollywood, my little rent control apartment near Fairfax and Santa Monica Boulevard, and that little apartment. We're talking, I want to say maybe 500, 600 square feet, rent control, very inexpensive, very unfancy. And I'm not sure to this day how desperately my neighbors wanted me to move out, because I'm sure I was making a racket, and no one ever actually knocked on my door and said, "What the hell are you doing in there?" But they were probably thinking it. I mean, I recorded a lot of the One Power album in there. I recorded the entire Sacred Love album in there,
Wow.
my entire Kids album, Sunny Stuff, in that apartment. And in fact, that gospel song I mentioned, God Makes Me Want to Sing, I wrote in that apartment. So Love Is My Decision was written during the time when I was assembling songs for an album called One Power. The song One Power came long before there was an album. And I actually was singing the song One Power and selling a CD single of it because there was nothing else to sell. And I was writing songs and I was recording them onto little mini cassettes at the time, which I still have somewhere. It was a big stack of these little tiny tapes.
That goes back.
Yeah. Well, it was 2000, probably 2001. And my friend Suze Ogden, who is herself a super talented singer-songwriter and a friend of mine since even before then, she was over and she said, "So, Danny, what have you written lately?" And I said, "I have no idea, but you can listen to my tape, my mini cassette player." And I pressed play on a couple for her, and then I pressed play on that one, on Love Is My Decision. And when it finished, she said, "Danny, don't keep that one." I'm paraphrasing, but "Danny, don't keep that one under a barrel. You know, that's a special little song. That's really, really nice. You should sing that one out." And I started singing it out at shows, and it really caught on. It uses there's a couple of songwriting, I wouldn't say tricks, but there's a couple of techniques I use specifically in that song. One is the unintentionally addictive 3/4 feel, or really 6/8 feel, where with the peace song, where you're just kind of inclined to rock back and forth along with it. Then the next technique I did was extreme repetition. So there are 8 lines, I think, in each verse. There's 3 verses, and the only lines that change verse to verse are lines 2 and 4. That is to say, 1, 3, and 5, 6, 7, 8 stay the same. And that was a technique I'm not sure I'd ever used before. And then I'm always very sensitive to boredom or fatigue. And with that song, I do remember that the 3 verses all felt substantial enough and meaningful enough and different enough that they were worth keeping, but that repeating the exact same structure so many times needed some sort of energetic change each time. As a record producer now, since then, I've learned how I would record it differently each verse to at least partly do some of that differentiation between verses, right? To increase every section of a song, at least on a recording, every section of a song really ought to have some kind of differentiation, whether a shaker comes in or leaves, or a background vocal starts or finishes, an instrument gets added. You'll hear it you'll hear it in basically every song on the radio. Every section has some change of color or tone or energy to it. And with Love Is My Decision, I put myself in a box with this ultra simple structure. What a performing band would call an AAAA song, meaning
Right.
You just repeat the same verse 4 times, because I repeat the last verse, right? The third verse we do twice generally. So I simply modulated each verse. I know this is, you want to focus a little bit on the music, which is why I'm talking a little bit technically about it. But for me,
I'm loving this.
Now normally,
I'm loving this.
okay, good. Yeah, normally, a modulation, that is to say, changing the key, it runs the danger of being a cheesy or old-fashioned or dated technique for increasing the energy of a song. I mean, Whitney Houston uses it, but she's Whitney Houston. There are these moments in pop history where it's so perfect that in fact, you'd miss it if it wasn't there. It was dying to go up a key, right?
Right.
But then it's grossly overused in other cases, and it can be a trick used to make you feel like the song is going somewhere when in fact the song isn't going anywhere at all. And to me, that's a little bit of no 70s rock group, pun intended, but to me, that's a little bit of a cheap trick. I'd rather write the song such that the energy builds on its own. And so that the modulation itself is really, it's icing on the cake, but it isn't the whole cake. In the case of Love Is My Decision, I think I'm right in the middle between it really needs it and it stands alone without it. I've performed that song on guitar, and I'm nowhere near as skilled a guitarist as I am a pianist. So when I perform it on guitar, I'm stuck with far less faculty in every key. Like on a piano, I can modulate half steps. It's easier to play. In other words, I'm playing D. Normally I'm playing D, E flat, E, F. On a guitar, I'm incapable of playing in 4 consecutive keys. So, and that's when I discover, oh yeah, this song really needs a modulation every verse. It actually falls a little flat when it doesn't go up each time you arrive at the next verse. All that being said, the meaning of the song, so that's a lot of ramble about the songwriting, but all that being said, the meaning of the song, very, very true to me and true to my own personal values. And the last thing I'll say about it is that there is a sneaky there's a sneaky little secret in that song lyrically. And I don't think it's actually a secret, but it's subtle and it could be missed. And the line that is the secret of that song is God. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. And that, because by the way, it works from like a Taoist or a Buddhist perspective, even if you don't believe in God, that you can decide, I'm now going to be this. I'm now going to stand for this. I'm now going to represent this. I'm now going to work towards this. But you don't actually decide the individual steps that get you there, even if you think you do. Looking back, we can all reflect on a moment when we thought we were in charge and we realized, oh, I was never actually quite in charge, and that was just fine because the way it turned out was more perfect than I could have ever designed myself. And this song does allude to that, which means I'm not encouraging people to go out and be Gandhi. I'm encouraging, or the singer is encouraging somebody to dabble in the idea of allowing a little bit more bridge building, a little bit more kindness, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more forgiveness. And if you allow just the light into the room, to see where that leads, rather than to make some grand action decision. It's actually a very internal, personal, private decision that shows up in the world in unexpected ways that we don't need to be in charge of. And that's really what the song, that's really sneakily what the song is about.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now.
Oh, yes. Love is my decision. And thank you for that. I think I may have shared with you previously, Daniel, that my wife and I, that was our closing song on our wedding. So I know you don't do weddings, but we wanted to make sure that your music was included in ours. And we used that as the closing song. And I feel that you have been, for me, not just the premier and the most beloved musician in my New Thought music exploration. Your stuff was, that's how I got turned on to New Thought music, was through the One Power album, and running around in Salt Lake City in the early 2000s. You stopped there and did concerts for us pretty much every year. We always had a chance to see your music, and I don't remember exactly where it was. When I first heard Breathe the Same Air. Yeah. However, that album, Different Me, I mean, we could sit here for the next 3 hours just talking about that album. But I don't know that I've ever really kind of heard the story and what it took. What's the creative process to bring something like Breathe the Same Air into the world?
Yeah. You know what? Thank you, by the way. And Breathe the Same Air was written in response to a feeling that I was having about the song One Power. So I'd been out singing One Power at that point for a year or two. And it occurred to me, maybe only gradually, that the song One Power said an absolutely essential thing for me to say. In other words, it's as true. I mean, I've believed what One Power says since I was a boy, long before I was allowed to believe it, if that makes sense. That it didn't matter what religion you belonged to, what holy book you read, what your clergy dressed like, what you called your house of worship, which day was the birth or death or whatever celebration you were doing. I've never cared. I only cared if you were nice. And truly, in the simplest possible sense, that's kind of the whole thought. I only cared if you were nice. If you were nice to yourself, if you were nice to other people, if you were nice to animals, if you said nice things, if you did nice things, if you smiled and meant it. That's kind of that's always my value system. And One Power was saying that loud and clear, right? That's what that song is about. One Power is also an offensive song. It manages to be offensive, I would say, probably to half of humanity, even as it endeavors to include all of humanity. And if somebody listening is wondering what I mean by offensive, I mean, I still sometimes recall on stage the moment I had when a woman, an associate minister at a mega church in Phoenix, a mega Christian church in Phoenix, called me and said, "Daniel, I've been listening to your One Power album nonstop for months, and I'm having a retreat at my church. It's a very big church, and I want to introduce my church to your music. So will you please come and sing at this retreat?" And I'll sing, as Jeannie did a nice introduction. Thank you for that. And I will sing for any group that'll have me, basically. Not any group, but most. And I said, sure, I'll sing at your Christian megachurch. I've never pretended to be any particular religion. I grew up Jewish. I am Jewish. I talk about being Jewish. It's not, no secrets. So I said, sure, I'll sing at your event. That's beautiful. I love it. So when I arrived at that church, that associate minister, and it was giant, like an auditorium, like a stadium, thousands of people. I don't know. Thousands and thousands fit in that room. And she came out into the parking lot, gave me a hug. "I'm so glad you're here. I'm so honored." I said, "Thank you." She said, "And I feel terrible having to say this, but the senior pastor here has asked that you not bring the One Power CD into the building."
Wow.
Right. And that was, because I am both nice and a smartass, I said, "That's totally fine. I will do as Jesus would do and sing where I'm invited, what I'm invited to sing." And that was a snarky thing. I meant it, actually. That's kind of, Jesus was kind of known to go where he was invited to go, right?
Right.
But that's the kind of thing. When I say offensive, I mean no religion, that is to say, no traditional, wall building religion can allow that all the other religions are right for them. Right. They have to be built on the premise that we're right and they'll come along.
Yes.
Our holiday is holy. Their holiday is just kind of weird or cute. We've got the real word of God. They, bless their hearts, think they do.
Well, I would say, I think you have the real word of God here when it comes to, especially this song, "Breathe the Same Air."
Well, yeah. So the bottom line about "Breathe the Same Air" then is I wanted to write another song like One Power that said the same thing, but my attempt was to not offend, was to say it in a way that I wouldn't make someone turn it off.
Right.
And that's really where the song came from. And then there's these Irish touches in the recording that were really fun to do. Actually, as I mentioned, my old apartment, there's a really talented composer in my little building, and his wife was a really talented violinist, and she offered as a gift to play that violin part that you hear in the recording. It was the whole entire album was recorded in Nashville with some of the greatest musicians I've ever been in the presence of. So that's where Breathe the Same Air was born. And it was debuted actually at an event with Deepak Chopra, where he was talking about concepts that were so close to the heart of One Power and Breathe the Same Air that I felt this is a place to sing this song. And it did do what I thought it would do that day. So that's the story of Breathe the Same Air a bit.
Right on. Well, let's give that a listen, folks. This is Daniel Nahmod, Breathe the Same Air. Enjoy.
Well, it's an idea whose time has come. A new generation decides as one of the same small planet we are born. It's never been so obvious before. We breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky, breathe the same air, and I think we ought to get along better, you and I. The future of history is crystal clear. The borders between us will disappear. The same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky, breathe the same air, and I think we ought to get along better, you and I. Well, some say I'm out of touch with the times, that this world is no place for a vision like mine. Well, still I can see it, and still I believe it. There's too many lives on the line. There's so many lives on the line. Breathe the same air. Oh, and I think we ought to get along better, you and I. We breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky, breathe the same air, and I think we ought to get along better, you and I. We breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, and kiss the same sky. We breathe the same air, and I think we ought to get along better. Oh, you and I breathe the same air, breathe the same air. Oh, yeah.
Yep, I can't imagine anybody would find anything in there to be offended by. So I would say you've accomplished your goal there. And
Yeah.
Daniel, your musical journey again, following you for close to 20 years now myself, your musical journey takes us as listeners into so many different regions and so many different places. I remember for quite a long time, I remember very clearly the very first time I heard the song Unbecoming. And I was in ministerial school, and it was one of those times where it was just like, and oh, here came a new Daniel Nahmod album. Okay, that'll lift me up. I'm gonna get that, and wow, what a change, what a game changer for me. What a great and amazing perspective for me at that time. I think everybody would really love to hear a little bit more around the meaning behind the song Unbecoming.
Yeah, thanks. Well, Unbecoming is on an album called Home, and I guess, as you know, the songs are all about home from different perspectives. There's a song about, for me, how national parks and nature feels like home. There's a song about coming home to my wife feels like home. There's a song about how when a baby comes home from the hospital, it's different thoughts about home. And Unbecoming is a little bit of a twist on the notion of home, in that it is really about a person realizing that the life they've lived, or the personality they've taken on, the relationships they have, the things they say about themselves, the things the image they project, that those things may have never been their own in their conception. They may have been put there by expectations, by parents and family, by society, by religion, by school, by peers. But, we are all subject to so many expectations and pressures. I mean, they're as simple as, my wife actually always corners our little boy before he goes to school or camp and fixes his hair, right? Well, that is because we want him to learn that going out looking unkempt conveys something, and going out looking, groomed conveys something. Going out wearing matching clothes these things, they are just true. And as they always say in the songwriting and any arts, they always say, to effectively break the rules of your art form, you first need to know the rules. So right. Do we want Jude to be an individual? 1,000,000%. But it also feels incumbent upon us as his parents to teach him some of society's expectations, so that he can pick and choose them if he wants, but know what he's choosing. But the problem comes when no one whispers in your ear, this is what people expect of you, but there's no reason why you have to do it, right? You don't have to do it. You don't have to become a lawyer or a doctor. You don't have to become an artist. You don't have to smoke pot. You don't have to not. You don't have to live here. You don't have to wear suits to work. You don't have to do these things. Who are you yourself, really, right? At some point, I'd certainly wish for everybody that they have a moment, whether it's early or late, that they get, metaphorically speaking, knocked on the head and, wake up to who they themselves have always been or have never been. Another example that comes to mind, other than Jude, is kids who have been sent off to camps by their religious parents to ungay them. And I just can't imagine what it would be like to attempt to withstand the pressure to just utterly be something you are not. And and I know, and most adults know, and most kids do not yet know, that lying about who you are will kill you. Right. Persistently lying about the fundamentals of who you are will kill you. If it doesn't kill you physically, it'll it'll knock you dead emotionally.
Right.
And in every important area, intimacy and joy and creativity and adventure, it sucks the will to live out of you to have to lie about who you are. And the song is about that person arriving at that moment when they realize that the expectations of others do not necessarily correspond to the truth of him or her, and in this line, and I talked about the secret line in "Love Is My Decision." In this song, in some sense, the most important line is the last line of the song, and I don't even need to say it out loud. If you're going to play the song, people will hear. The last line of the song is where I make the final point that I want to make about breaking down the rules and the roles that this person singing has taken on, and discovering that there was in fact a rainbow hidden by the rain. I mean, there was something beautiful behind the lying and pretending and role playing, and it's a song about finding that place.
Yeah. Well, let's do it, folks. Hang on. This is Unbecoming from Daniel Nahmod. Enjoy.
It isn't like I've always wondered what I was made of. Is this really me? I've only recently discovered I've always stood in the shadows of expectations of me. Now that I see there's no judge, there's no jury. Now that I know I can take my own role, I feel a freedom that I have never known. It's about unbecoming what I never was. It's about unlearning what was never true. It's about unbelieving all the lies that I've been told. Unbecoming is the story of my soul. Everybody's name is given. Nobody asks us who we really are. But after so many years of living, you wouldn't think the answer would still feel so far. I'm slow, I'm smart, I'm accounting, I'm art, I'm left brain or right, I'm a morning person or night. Well, maybe it's time to step outside those lines and see who I find. It's about unbecoming what I never was. It's about unlearning what was never true. It's about unbelieving all the lies that I've been told. Unbecoming is the story of my soul. The scariest thing is offending, disappointing everyone's vision of who I should be. But the only way home is to becoming what I never was. It's about unlearning what was never true. It's about unbelieving all the lies that I've been told. Unbecoming starts the story of my soul. Unbecoming is coming home.
Oh, yes. That just moves me every single time. Moves me to that place of absolutely unbecoming all that I never was. So Thank you, sir. I want to play another song here, and we're going to listen to it first and then let you share a little bit with us. I call this part of my unset. Because you've got Unbecoming. There's also another song called Unplug, but then a few albums later you do Unjaded. So let's listen to this, folks, and then we'll get a little reaction from Daniel. Just kick back, enjoy. Daniel Nahmod, Unjaded.
Well, I used to dream out loud. Just being human made me proud. Now I throw my hands up in the air from disillusion and despair. My heart has taken such abuse. I've used my hurt as my excuse. It's like all hope has disappeared behind the shadow of my fear. And I wonder why they say that aging thins the skin. Then I remember I am only one, but I am not alone. I don't need to do everything, no. I can right one wrong, I can sing one song. I don't need to do everything. It's time to dive back in, yeah. It's time to live again. I am unjaded. Oh, what if you have to fall to grow? I've fallen hard enough to know. So what if life's not fair? Doesn't mean that I'm too cool to care. And I wonder when I stopped believing right will win. Then I remember I am only one, but I am not alone. I don't need to do everything, no. I can right one wrong, I can sing one song. I don't need to do everything. It's time to dive back in. It's time to live again, unjaded. What kind of life would I live with my heart closed? What kind of man would I be? What kind of world would I be creating if I can't love with all of me? If I can't love with all of me. I am only one, but I am not alone. I don't need to do everything on my own. I can right one wrong or sing one song. I don't need to do everything. I am only one, but I am not alone. I don't need to do everything, no. I can right one wrong, I can sing one song. I don't need to do everything. It's time to dive back in, yeah. It's time to dive back in. Oh, it's time.
All right. Well, so Daniel, tell us a little bit about that. How did that come to be, and what do we need to know about it?
Yeah, that song is from the Cornerstone album, and those songs were written 2 or 3 years after my boy was born. He's now 8. So when Jude was born, I basically cleared my travel schedule and sort of hunkered down at home with my wife and boy. I didn't want to miss the time when he was so little. I didn't want to not be there to help my wife out and get to know my little baby. And I also, in case anyone's listening and wondering, I also did not have a trust fund or a big savings account. It was actually, it was a scrape by financially, season for the family. I was not, it's not like I was sitting on a pile of money. I just really wanted to stay home. So I performed locally and started producing other people's music more and more, and didn't hit the road. But I also discovered, and it always gets a laugh when I say it in front of an audience, I discovered that to write a song, you have to be able to complete a thought in your head. And I found that out the hard way, because between being another line that I always say at concerts, which is just true and also apparently very funny, is that I've been tired since my wife's water broke. And that is actually literally true. And so between being tired and completely focused on my wife and boy, and just kind of eking out, I'm not being melodramatic. I mean, really just kind of eking out a living so that I could be home. It was just a value judgment on our part that the money wasn't as important as long as we could continue to pay our mortgage and so on. So I didn't write a song for a couple of years. In fact, right now I'm in another stretch where I haven't written a song. This time we moved into a new house over Thanksgiving, a new old house. And the house is such a fixer-upper that I've done nothing but fix up the house. And of course, now we've had a shutdown. So I've been streaming shows and fixing up the house and kind of nothing else. But this what we're talking about here is a much longer stretch after Jude was born, where I went 2 or 3 years without writing songs. When I started writing songs again, I found them revolving around the subtitles of the Cornerstone. The subtitle of the Cornerstone album is "Songs of Comfort and Courage," and I found myself summoning up a fire that had been not out but ignored for those 2 or 3 years. I hadn't paid attention to my own feelings and thoughts particularly at all, and there's a inherently self-absorbed character to being any kind of artist, I imagine. As a songwriter, I always get raised eyebrows when somebody approaches me and says, "Daniel, will you listen to my CD?" And I say, "Probably not." and they're, why not? And I say, I first of all, my head is literally perpetually, always for 24 years, but certainly for the last 10 or 15, overwhelmed with details, with business ideas, with phone calls I haven't made, with loose ends I haven't, cleaned up, with songs unfinished, with records not released, with ideas unexecuted. And then I say, I am a really self-absorbed singer-songwriter. I'm not actually interested in what anyone else is doing. And in fact, I find it's a little extreme, but I find it, I get distracted or discouraged when I tune into what other people are doing. It doesn't feel good. It takes, like, I tuck into what I'm doing and do the very best and truest work I can. Like if I were to sit back and watch, Jeannie, you mentioned the concerts, right? I've done 42 so far live free concerts on Facebook, right? Since this shutdown happened at the end of March, 42 shows. If I were to sit and watch what other people have done with their shows, all I would do would be compare. Mm-hmm. And I would either feel better than, which is not a feeling I want to have, or I'd feel worse than, which is not a feeling I want to have. I would think about things I hadn't done that I could have done, which is not a feeling I want to have. or I'll feel like things the other person should do, which is also, none of these things are wins for me, versus if I do it in a bubble, it's just my true work. And I'm not comparing myself to Stevie Wonder, but I remember learning about how Stevie Wonder recorded Songs in the Key of Life, one of the greatest albums I've ever heard in the world, his double album set from, I think, the late 70s. Yep. Right. Songs I've sung at in some of those concerts are from Songs in the Key of Life. Isn't She Lovely? And If It's Magic and As. And it's a masterpiece. And he disappeared into the studio to do that album so thoroughly that Berry Gordy had written him a huge check as an advance to make that album. And it went on so long, waiting for Stevie literally to play him anything. I'm talking about a year and a half or 2 years, that Berry Gordy was wondering if there was any music happening or whether he'd ever hear anything. He was wondering whether there was an album, or he had no idea. Stevie Wonder disappeared into a cocoon and came out with a masterpiece. I have not done that. I'm not claiming to have done that, but I do cocoon when I'm making my own music. So back to Unjaded, is these songs that it was starting to come out after Jude was 2 or 3. The songs really did revolve around coming back to life, about daring to feel, daring to risk, daring to sing out loud again. And Unjaded is still one of my favorite songs to perform, because I think it says a lot in 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes. It says a lot about sensitivity to sensitivity versus getting thick skin, right? Caring versus not caring. That if I'm too cool to care. There's a lot of lines in there that really say something about the tendency of an adult to be thick-skinned and indifferent and overwhelmed, for God's sake. And it's a song of remembering that life really is for living, and life is better when you're sensitive and when you care and when you do what you can, where you can, and let it be enough, and realize that you're only one and you're not alone, and the rest of the world is doing the best it can too, and that's enough. It's that you don't need to shelter your heart for a lifetime to stay safe. And that's, so it's a very personal song.
So another thing we want to talk to you about, Daniel, is your collaboration with Nemo Patel. We had the blessing of interviewing Nemo, one of the first interviews Robert and I did. And I, up to that point, wasn't familiar with Nemo or his music. And so it was very definitely an eye-opening experience for me. But it was interesting to hear his take on how he came to collaborate with you. So that, of course, people can listen to at another time. But we'd certainly like to hear what your feelings were, because Nemo, of course, wanted to do a rap of one of your songs, and he shared how he was a little hesitant about asking you about that because that wasn't your style, and maybe you would object. So how did that collaboration come about from your point of view?
Well, yeah. I mean, my relationship with Nemo is one of those beautiful unintended things that is. It's really been a very special thing for me, honestly. He was. I understand he told you the story, so he was apparently given a copy of my CD, and listened to it.
The Water
against
CD,
his better
right?
judgment. Yeah. Listened to it, and really it struck a chord for him. And he, and when he went on tour with his kids, that he quoted planting seeds, and someone who knew me forwarded the interview to me, and I reached out to him and said, "Hey, Nemo, it's that guy whose music you've been listening to," and when I read, I'm a sucker for, well, I already told you, my principal value is nice, right? And the thing he was doing, and I mean, it's complicated for me, emotionally complicated, because I spent a solid decade doing as much humanitarian work as I could possibly do with my music. I mean, saying yes to everything. You mentioned the hospital volunteer thing in the introduction. I mean, what that meant essentially was that it might have been 2 solid years, but it was close to it, if not. I would go to Cedars-Sinai Hospital near my apartment in West Hollywood for 1 or 2 or 3 hours at a time, put on a uniform that they gave me, and walk the halls singing for anybody, right? And it was just, and any nonprofit. I mean, this is not boasting. This is just. I mean, this is where my heart and soul is at in terms of. I mean, my answer was just yes. Daniel, would you write a theme song for my nonprofit? Yes, whatever it is. Yes, Daniel, will you sing at my benefit event? Yes, of course it is. Of course I will. So that it started feeling more like a luxury, not when I got married, but when I had a baby. And suddenly all the world's children could no longer be my children the same way because I had my own child, right? So to get that article about this guy Nemo, who was still in that space where he was giving it all away, and using my music to do it, to inspire him or to support him.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was more meaningful. It was more meaningful than I could tell him or you. I'm 0% jealous of him being able to do it. But it's just so like, I remember being in that space because he is that giving, he gives away his performances. He gives away his albums. He is to some extent doing something. I always dreamed of giving away all my albums. I could never afford to. My dream was that I would have one of my dreams, one of my ambitions, one of my ambitions was to have music industry success substantial enough that when I showed up for 75 people in Salt Lake City or whatever, I could show up with a case of CDs and hand them out and go home. Sing my songs, hand out the CDs and go home. Well, Nemo does that. Nemo started the nonprofit that I always thought about starting, and he does raise the money to give away the. It was so touching to see that songs of mine were doing something for such a person, and he continues to be that guy. Right. So the collaboration, I didn't know he was hesitant to ask about doing Planting Seeds, a hip hop version. But he didn't have to be because, and he's right. It's not even slightly my style. The song is basically a 21st century Peter, Paul and Mary song. And he wanted to rap to it. But as it turns out, working together with Nemo is fantastic. It's legitimately fun and legitimately productive. And the songs that he and I have done together are some of the best things I've ever done. We've done maybe half a dozen songs together. And besides being how proud I am of the videos, which I don't make, and the messages of the songs, which I do contribute to, just the songs themselves are great. So it's just been a wonderful, I also sometimes when I perform in Nemo, I joke about him going bald before me because that's about all I've got on him. I also joke about him being 6 inches taller than me and about 30 pounds lighter. But then I also say I used to think I was a good person until I met Nemo. Yeah. Some people say, Daniel, you're being too, they correct me after, Daniel, you're too modest. We know you and everything. Well, yeah, but I don't mind lifting him up. He is the real deal. He's as generous. Yeah. He's as generous as you would hope such a person would be. doing the kind of things he does. And I have met, and I'm sure you have too, a lot of people who claim to be doing good things. And then you meet them, and I'm not saying they're bad people, but they're not quite, the heart's not quite resonating the way you'd think it would.
Right.
But with Nemo, instantaneously, obviously, immediately, yes, this guy is real.
Yes.
It's not posing. It's not self-aggrandizing. It's not for secret profit. And that authenticity, man, I mean, that is gold to me. So that's how it feels to work with Nemo.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Daniel, you mentioned that you've done about 6 songs with Nemo. What's your favorite collaboration with Nemo?
I would have to say it's either Grateful, which was our first full release of a song, or We Shall Overcome. I am very proud of what we did with kind of a reimagining of that hymn.
Well, let's listen to We Shall Overcome. It seems like a good song right about now.
It's burning inside, the hurting and the suffering. Minds creating anger, fear, and pain, suffocating our times. The tougher it gets, the rougher social media cries. But we see to it that we tweeting only negative lines. We're sick and tired of history, but repeating it twice. Greed, anger, and violence clearly stealing our nights. Feeling it tight between the shoulders with a chill in the spine. Pinching myself, waking up, trying to stop the rewind and move forward towards stories overcoming our fears. Choosing love over hate, praying, trading hugs over tears. There's only one choice, breaking down the walls and repair every broken heart on this planet till there's no longer fear.
Walls can't hold us in. Fear can't keep us down. Love will rise again. Yeah, it's rising right now. We shall overcome.
Every time I think it's gonna take much longer,
We shall overcome.
every time I question, am I getting stronger?
We have just begun.
Gonna make a change, we gotta push much farther.
We shall overcome.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Young Gandhi couldn't fathom how to deal with himself when he was thrown off the train and the pain that he felt. Mrs. Parks disrespected, dragged into jail because of the color of her skin, organs, tissues, and cells. One day, a young girl was shot on a bus by a man, a terrorist, part of the Taliban. He said, on this land, you have no right to stand for what you believe in. Girls have no chance here. Well, now, that's just the story of 3 souls who shook our planet after being down on their knees. And it's not gonna stop. Those seeds have now become trees, and as human beings, we'll keep on digging till we find peace.
Yeah, the cynics always say that nothing ever changes. The human nature's bound to stay the same. But it couldn't be more plain that violence never pays, injustice never stays. It's bound to fade away. What if history awaits? What if today's the day? So let's all lead the way. We shall overcome.
Every time I think it's gonna take much longer,
We shall overcome.
every time I question, am I getting stronger?
We have just begun.
Gonna make a change, we gotta push much farther.
We shall overcome.
We shall overcome. Come on.
I will carry on. I will carry on. I will carry on. I will carry on. After we're gone, after we're gone, to the tree we plant will be strong.
Yeah, come on. Yep. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
Makes me wanna sing now. We shall overcome.
Every time I think it's gonna take much longer,
We shall overcome.
every time I question, am I getting stronger?
We shall
Here we go. Woo! I knew it. God had a plan for us to do it. To hit rock bottom before we rise and continue. To first learn greed before we learn to be human. To do wrong deeds before we learn to spread beauty. There's always a plan, and now it's time to take a stand for the right of the planet, every woman and man. We ain't gonna stop, only growing our demands for all beings to feel peace in every heart and land. Thank you, Lord, for the strength and the courage to bring us together and keep our souls nourished. These tough times will only drown in our chorus, because we all believe that the truth is before us. We shall overcome this pain. We shall overcome this day. We pray for love to lead the way.
So that was Daniel Nahmod and Nemo Patel in We Shall Overcome, reimagined, as Daniel tells us. So, Daniel, you mentioned that hip-hop and rap are about as far away as your comfort zone genre as you could get. So did Nemo inspire you to do the rap and sing about love?
He must have rubbed off on me. It wasn't conscious. In fact, the rap section. This is basically the first time I've ever rapped anything. Basically, and it's a song that is also very important to me. It's I've spent a long time singing the kinds of songs I sing, but without having a good explanation of why to myself. And there's an intensity to what I do, live and recorded. There's something very personal, stirring in the songs that I sing, that I write, and I've only slowly really come to understand what the nature is of that fire that burns, or the story in my family of surviving the Holocaust, and similarly, I've always, for 24 years now or whatever, or 23 years, really wondered whether these songs are, whether they have a place in the story of popular music, whether they, what genre they're in, how lonely am I, with what I do. But somehow when I was writing this song, I didn't know where it was going when I wrote it. And it didn't start off, the second section, for people who are about to listen, you're going to be surprised by where it goes. And I didn't start it out writing with that section in mind or in existence. The line that triggered the rap you're going to hear, the line that triggered it is, I'm going to take my cue from a few folks I look up to. And when I started thinking about the songs that have inspired me and millions and billions of people, the list kept getting longer and longer and longer. And in fact, it didn't start off as a rap. It started off as a sung section and much shorter. And it kept getting it got so long that I realized if I was going to fit in this many, and there's more that I wish I could put in, then I'd have to speed it up. And when I started speeding it up, it sort of evolved into a rap. And then I was going to give it to Nemo to rap, actually. And it was so much fun writing that I realized, no, I want this one. And I practiced and practiced and practiced and recorded and recorded and recorded until I got a recording of myself doing that rap. And now I do it live, and I've memorized it, and it is a kick and a half to perform live. So yes, inspired for sure by Nemo. But really a very significant song in my musical life story that I can now have an answer for myself about where I belong and whom I put people in quotes, but who my people are, songwriter wise, song wise. There are 65 artists mentioned.
Wow.
And another one of my dreams and ambitions in the world of music would be that at least some of these people come someday to be proud that they were mentioned in the song. And I haven't started on that campaign to get any of them aware of the song. Except for I've emailed it to a couple of people. I've emailed it to Switchfoot, a couple other groups I mentioned, but basically I haven't started yet. But it is a dream of mine. I want them to know that we humanity notices. We notice when the song they sing lifts us up the way these songs do that I mentioned in mine.
Well, thank you for that explanation. So let's listen to Sing About Love by Daniel Nahmod.
I could sing about mistakes I've made, broken hearts and broken wings. I could sing about my aches and pains and the one that got away. But it seems to me the world has its hurts to spare. Shadows are everywhere. I've decided I've cried enough. There's plenty of songs about tough luck. I'm gonna sing about love. Gonna sing about love. Lift somebody up instead of talking about tough luck. I can't deny, I still dream about the glory, the Grammy, the gold. I cannot lie, I still wish sometimes my eyes and my heart were closed. But it seems to me my family escaped the war and they never sang anymore. They lost everything they had, and if a song is all I can give back, I'm gonna sing about love. Whoa. Gonna sing about love. Whoa. Lift somebody up. Lift somebody up. Gonna sing about love. Whoa. Instead of talking about tough love. Whoa, no more tough love. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Gonna take my cue from a few folks I look up to. I'm gonna sing about love. Stevie Wonder sings in the key of life. Bobby McFerrin says be happy, it'll be alright. Marvin Gaye showed the way to what's going on. It's a wonderful world thanks to Louis Armstrong. Soul Asylum saved those runaway kids. John Lennon just imagined and the whole world did. John Denver took a skyward, Tina Turner to the sea. Stevie Winwood to a higher love, John Legend and Comet to freedom. Pete Seeger's gonna overcome. Bob Marley just smiled at the rising sun. Eminem will lose himself before the moment's gone. Miss Jackson knows the knowledge is what we want. Gloria Gaynor maintained that we're gonna survive. Tim McGraw wants us to live like we are dying. Aretha got R-E-F-B-E-C-T. Bette Midler from a distance, the whole world we see. Tom Petty, Free Falls, Leanne Hopes, we dance. Josh Groban raised us up. If we're hurting, R.E.M. understands. Irving B blessed the USA. Van Morrison ushered in a brand new day. Whitney sang about the greatest love of all. Johnny Nash can see clearly now the rain won't fall. Take notes, we're beautiful. Christina does too. Rihanna sees us shining like a diamond. We keep walking like the Foo Fighters fight the power. Public enemy said. Miley is a climber. Andy Grammer keeps his head up. Bill Withers, we can lean on him. Natasha's unwritten. Taylor Swift shakes it off again. Lady Gaga was born this way. Jason Mraz truly got to be our friend today. The Black Eyed Peas wonder where is the love. Desiree got a beat. Journey never stopped believing in us. Simon over troubled water made a bridge. Elton John lit a candle for Diana. He did. It's the same love. Macklemore was moved to pray. Izzy made a rainbow with an ukulele. James Brown, loud and proud. From the stars we laid it out the way it is. Queen made us into champions. You too, and Dr. King and the power of one. Sam Cooke made you love. Change is gonna come. Peter Gabriel ain't giving up on us just yet. We are the world saved lives. No star they couldn't get. Irene Cara, what a feeling alive. Pharrell Mavis, happy Katy Perry lit a firework in the sky. Carole King, we've got a friend. Switchfoot dared us all to move again. Paul McCartney's words of wisdom were to let it be. The weight of the world was taken off by Aloe Black and the Fiji. So what do I do? Let me tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sing about love. Sing about love. Sing about love. It'll be alright.
Oh yes. Sing about love. I do. I'll tell you, Daniel. There's so many songs in your catalog that just get me up and get me moving and get me kicking, and that's definitely one of them. It stands out. I love your reference to Harold Payne in there. Harold's been a guest on this program as well. And I've gotten to know a bit of his music thanks to listening to you and your interest. And it seems that you've, along the road, you've had a lot of collaborations and a lot of people. I'll tell you, everybody that's been on this program speaks very, very highly of you. And
that's nice.
And what I see is that this new album, this new collection of songs that's just come out, there's another one on there, Kind Child. Mm-hmm. Now, I just said, I'm more of the let's get up and boogie and dance guy. And however, this song, not only as a parent, but it feels like in some ways there's even deeper levels there. And I've heard you talk about this song on some of your live concerts and such. I'd love our listeners to have a better understanding of this as well. Tell us a little bit about Kind Child.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jude is now, he just finished second grade. It was a pretty anticlimactic end, of course, to school. He wasn't in class since March, but he just finished second. In first grade, we got a phone call from his teacher saying, she told me, your boy is always the kindest boy in class, and he goes to get colors of crayons that other kids are looking for, and he helps kids find the water fountain. She said, but today he did something really special. There's a kid struggling in the class, and I finished reading a book. His name is Evan, and she said, I finished reading a book to the entire class. They were all sitting on the rug. And when I finished, your boy raised his hand, and I said, what, Jude? And Jude said, I think Evan did such a good job listening. He should get an extra point today. I was very moved by that little gesture of his, because as I've now said, a couple times in our chat here, being nice and kind. And in fact, as I told Jude that day when he came home, I said, there's a lot of things people can say about you, about a person. They can say you're smart or not smart, or funny or not funny, or talented or fat or thin, or they can say all kinds of things about you. But if people are saying that you're kind, that is the best thing to be known as, in my opinion, in the whole world. And that what he had done for Evan was speak up for him. Evan didn't speak English, was part of the problem. He was new to America, and he couldn't understand instructions, so he was really struggling in class. I said that might have been the first time Evan heard his name spoken with a smile, and causing the whole class to look at him and smile, causing the teacher to smile. No judgment, no instructions he couldn't understand, no negativity whatsoever. I said, and there's no way of knowing what a little act of kindness like that could do, but I promise you it did some good. And I was just so proud of him, right? Well, months later, I found myself writing a song in which I was confronting the question of what good can one person do in this world, and specifically, what good can I do? A lot of my songs, I would refer to the singer in the third person. I would say that, I have done even in our conversation today, right? That person is trying to, right? This person is feeling, but Kind Child is me talking about, the very reasonable and realistic question: does it actually make a difference if I put a quarter in somebody's cup? Right? Does it actually make a difference if I help somebody across the street?
Right.
And of course, it does in the moment. But what is, in the larger picture, what good can I really do? And that phone call from Jude awakened me to an answer, not the answer, but an answer, which is I could raise a boy who, in some sense, as my own, as an echo after I'm gone, could carry on being as good as he can manage to be kind. And what greater legacy could I possibly leave? And that's where the song comes from.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, let's give it a listen, folks. This is Kind Child by Daniel Nahmod.
Lately I've been thinking about what motivates me to give a couple dollars to a stranger on the street, to hold the door, carry groceries, help a neighbor in need. When history repeats itself in headlines every day, solutions never big enough for problems that we face. As a man, as a dad, what difference can I make? 'Cause I know better than to think I'll be remembered for a favor or a quarter or a smile. Oh, but maybe before I return to sender, I can do one thing worthwhile. So I'm gonna try to raise a kind child. Sure would help if my boy went and got an MBA and took care of his artist mom and dad in their old age. But let's face it, Wall Street probably isn't in his DNA. But when his first grade teacher said she wanted us to know, it's Jude who always comforts any kid who sits alone. There's just so much pride my heart can take. My retirement can wait. Cause I know better than to think I'll be remembered for a fortune or a pension or a prize. Oh, but maybe before I return to sender, I'll have done one thing worthwhile. So I'm gonna try to raise a kind child. I don't want him to think the world is his to save. Too much pressure anyway, can't be done. I don't want him to think he has to be a saint, 'cause the truth is saints don't have any fun. Mostly I just hope my boy will come to understand no 401k or GPA can make a happy man. It's having roots, doing good, helping out where you can. So put down roots, do some good, take somebody's hand. And you'll know better than most what really matters, what makes living this life worthwhile. And there may come a day your own kids will remember how their granddad used to say with a smile that he raised. We raised a kind child.
Well, thank you, folks. You're listening to Real Conversations, the meaning behind the music. I'm Robert Brzezinski. My co-host is with me today, Jeanne Kataoka, and we've been having this most amazing conversation with Daniel Nahmod. That was, we just listened to Kind Child. And I want to listen to another song, and we'll come back and then get Daniel's response and reaction. Tell us a little bit more about it. So let's give this a listen. This is Everything New.
Bring it on, everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh,
it's gonna be everything new. I'm through crying, I'm through waiting, I'm through hoping against all hope. I'm through longing for something gone that'll never return. Think I finally learned, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through grieving, I'm through dreaming that the life I had is ever coming back. No more wishing on someone else's star that'll never be mine. I think it's time to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. And I've survived many times before. Broken heart and slamming door. I'll be alright, yes I will, once more, just as I did back then. I'm gonna rise again, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. So bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I know it's gonna be everything new.
So, Daniel, this is just another one of my personal favorites, and I think it speaks volumes to so many things. And I've always wondered a little bit more around the creative process of how this song came to you.
Yeah, that song is on the Water album, and the entire Water album is written in a very, very different headspace and physical space than I've ever been in before. As many people have heard me talk about and reflect on the time I spent on basically a self-imposed exile or a sabbatical into the Red Rock country in Utah, in Moab, Utah, which this is in 2006, actually, a much less crowded place than it has become now. And I was there January, February, March of 2006. And I had the national parks and the state parks and the canyons and the riverbeds. I had pretty much the whole place to myself a lot of the time, meaning no sounds, no cars, no people, no animals, no wind, no snow, no nothing, no sounds for hours at a time. And into that quiet came the whisper of song after song after song about the illusion of control. You know, I was in a place that was as perfect as places get, as beautiful and amazing as a place can possibly be, and yet somehow made without any planning, no budgets, no 10-year plans, no engineering schematics, no bureaucracy. It just happened. It happened because of time and water. And what at any phase of the game would have looked like a disaster was in fact that place being born. One flake of stone at a time, one drop of rain, or a single snowflake melting at a time, such that there's red rock in front of you, and above you are red cliffs, and at your feet is red dirt, and it's all the same stuff. The red dirt used to be the rocks, and the rocks used to be the cliffs and mountains. All of it shaped and broken down and built back up again over billions of years, millions of times, oceans rising and falling. And in that quiet and in that scenic beauty and in that time to sort of ponder, I was reading the Tao, which I had found in the Moab Public Library, and I was writing these songs about surrender. And Everything New was one of those songs where I was feeling very clearly like I don't mean this to sound as shocking as it sounds. I was very clear that I was dying and that I was being born, both. I was there and I didn't know why. I didn't know what was happening. I wrote 125 songs. I didn't know for whom. I had cleared my schedule. I couldn't tell you what I did for a living or what I was going to do. I was just, I was dying and I was being born. And that song is, well, the opening words tell you everything you need to know about my willingness to allow that process to happen, right? Just like the cliffs and canyons dissolve, and we humans want to rush in and save them or protect them or preserve them, stop the flood, right? Stop the drought. We want to stop the cycle so that things can stay exactly as they are. When there I was in this place that has never stopped changing and never will, and yet somehow always seems to turn out just fine. And in that frame of mind, I was, opening my arms wide and opening myself up wide and saying, bring it on.
Right. Bring it on. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, Daniel, we always have a surprise question, and our listeners probably know it's not really a surprise, but and you are blessed to have your son, but maybe it's good that you only have one, because I'm sure you would have a difficult time choosing among your catalog of songs, but that's exactly what we're going to ask you to do, is what is Daniel Nahmod's favorite song of his own?
You've hit a few of them. We've talked about One Power, and right now Kind Child and Sing About Love are two of my favorites. I would say a couple others of my favorites are this up-tempo, very different kind of song called Can You Help Me Find It?
Yeah.
And another one is Last Song, also from the Water album. Those are two of my favorites that we haven't touched on today. They're very, very different from each other. But those are my two quick answers. Can You Help Me Find It? And Last Song.
Well, I'm going to say, folks, let's listen to Can You Help Me Find It? I love this song. It was that when I when I first heard this, at my ordination, I think, I was just immediately fell in love with this. So I'm excited to share this one. Here it is, folks. Can You Help Me Find It by Daniel Nahmod.
Can you help me find it? Can you help me find it? Can you help me find my childhood home? Can you help me find it? Won't you help me find it? 'Cause I cannot find my childhood home. My childhood home was small. My childhood home was so humble. That home was the only peace I've known. My childhood home may be Won't you help me find my childhood home? Can you help me find it? Can you help me find it? Can you help me find my beating heart? Can you help me find it? Won't you help me find it? 'Cause I cannot find my beating heart. My beating heart was strong. My beating heart was unbroken. That heart was a laser in the dark. My beating heart may be gone, but not forgotten, no. Won't you help me find my beating heart? Can you help me find it? Can you help me find it? Can you help me find my only love? Can you help me find it? Won't you help me find it? 'Cause I cannot find my only love. My only love was wild. My only love ever reckless. That love was the fire in my blood. My only love may be gone, but not forgotten, no. Won't you help me find my only love? How far can one man go and carry such a heavy load? Oh, I'll tell you when I know. Can you help me find it? Can you help me find it? Can you help me find my righteous song? My righteous song. Can you help me find it? Won't you help me find it? 'Cause I cannot find my righteous song. My righteous song was proud. My righteous song was a trumpet, bringing down the city walls at dawn. Wake up, saints. My righteous song ain't gone. It's a calling. Won't you help me find my righteous song? My righteous song was true. My righteous song was like thunder. Choirs of smoking lightning sing along. My righteous song ain't gone. My righteous song keeps on sounding. Can you help me find my righteous song? Can you help me find my righteous song? Can you help me find it? My righteous song.
Well, all right, Daniel, we want to say thank you so much for being with us today. We do have one more song we want to talk about before we go. However, we do also want to learn a little bit more. What's on the future? What's on the horizon? What can we expect in the coming weeks, months, years, whatever, as far out as the vision has revealed itself to you? What do you want us to know about the future of your work on the planet?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind of thoughtful questions. And as I said to you privately before we started, thanks for both of you, actually. Thanks for being so supportive and kind. It's not a small thing. I don't take it for granted, and I notice it and I feel it, and it makes a big difference. And that goes for everybody listening who's ever listened to my music or logged into one of the concerts or whatever. It really is very, very special to have the kind of support I've had. On the near-term horizon, I've been doing a series of talks about the Tao on Facebook Live on Thursdays at noon. That's just in July. I've been leading some small groups. This is like 10 to 12 people in kind of a personal exploration, of the significance of control and surrender, the water our idea in specifics in our own lives. So I've been having small group conversations. So this is my second round of groups, and I'll be starting another one for the fall for sure. Another round of those. I'm sure I'll be doing more concerts on Facebook Live. I'm just taking a little break from them right now, but I've had 4 seasons of those. 12 concerts straight 3 times, and then 6 concerts, consecutive nights. I'm also going to be I'm planning on doing some live songwriting and record producing. Like turn on the camera and start writing a song and talk about the process out loud. Whether it's somebody who likes my music who would be interested in seeing how it's born, or somebody who writes their own music and might be interested in seeing how it's born. That would be kind of the target audience for that. I don't know if people would watch, and I certainly don't know if the song will be any good when it's done. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that very shortly, and I'm also thinking about possibly doing a small group for songwriters, like a professional songwriting group where each person, and I'm talking about like small, like 6 people or less, where each person takes a song from conception to completion over the course of some weeks, where we all meet and talk about them, like an intensive workshop.
Right.
But honestly, Robert, I have no freaking idea. I mean, I am a traveling singer songwriter in a world that doesn't travel. Right. I am a father of a boy who goes to school in a world where school is suddenly somehow tagged as optional. My wife is a jeweler, and there are no shows, and I put her jewelry out at my shows, and I don't have any shows. So I truly don't know. Consistent with my own songs, I am aware that I don't need to know. So is it an unsettling time? Yes. And when I look in the camera during my Facebook concerts and I say, if you're wondering what the hell's going on, hear me that you're not alone. Right?
Right.
But so I truly don't know. I feel some new songs coming. I don't know what they're going to be like, or whether they'll be any good, or what they'll be about. I never do know. And I honestly don't know. I'm taking it not necessarily one day at a time, but pretty close to it. I've been recording a lot of services for a lot of churches. I've been recording. I think this coming Sunday, I'm in 3 different cities. One Sunday, I was in 3 countries.
Wow.
But that's nice and flattering, and it feels like I'm of service when I do that. But it's not like it's not a livelihood, because right. I'm not playing hardball on fees or anything. That's not what it's about. It's about reaching out and encouraging and inspiring or comforting. And that's what all those concerts have been about. If anybody listening wants to sit back on their couch and get a Slurpee, which is what I would get, and watch and be sung to for hours, there are now 42 live concerts straight through. You go to Daniel Nahmod USA on Facebook, and you will discover a never-ending stream, and they're all different. I repeat some songs here and there, but I cover a lot of ground. And if you don't know what to watch, and 42 concerts seems like too many to even tackle, just watch the most recent last couple. I think they were 2 nice shows, the grand finale and the one just before it. I did some of my favorite cover songs. So that's been very rewarding and beautiful. And the support I've gotten, my family's gotten in the form of gifts, is really the reason why we still have our mortgage paid, because my livelihood, like many, many millions of other people's, just disappeared. So I do not know where it's all going. I do not lie awake in fear. I know that I'm okay, and have always been, and will always be that way, to paraphrase another one of my own songs. And I know so will my family be, and so will my country be. But it is a weird, weird time. And I'm taking it one day and 1 week at a time, and doing the best I can to be of service, honestly.
Well, I would definitely say you are doing that. I concur. These concerts have been a lifesaver for many, and have just been incredibly inspiring, encouraging.
Thank you.
And I tell you, I love it when a musician, an artist is just speaks in their everyday language, is quoting their own songs and their own lyrics. That to me is authenticity. So folks, we're going to make sure that links to all of this information, how to get in touch with Daniel, his website, where to pick up his music. He's actually got a really great deal going on right now on a USB drive of a great collection of his music. So we'll make sure you have links to that and know how to find these videos and such like that. We do want to get out of here, though, and get Daniel back to his day. So we're going to say a quick thank you, and then we've got one last song we'd like you to introduce for us. We'll play that out and be done. So, sir, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, too. My pleasure.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yep. Thank you, Jeannie.
All righty. So it wouldn't be complete, and I think we would do everybody a disservice if we didn't chat for just a minute about probably the most iconic song in New Thought in the world of positive music and in your catalog. Give us a hit. Tell us a little bit about One Power.
One Power was written in that little apartment in West Hollywood. It was born, the phrase, the words One Power was born on the way home from a church gig. And I had gone, the minister had been so encouraging and supportive that she had I just went home, just floating home in my car. And I felt powerful. The word power was in my mind. I just felt so powerful. And I started thinking, well, there's really only one power. I don't know why that occurred to me specifically, but I started writing that song that day, and it took a while to write. But when I was finished, what I had was a song that encapsulated how I had always felt about the world's religions and about humanity. And it, it's proven to be an unendingly relevant song for me to sing, emotional always, and also relevant, I would say, to cultural events, social events, and history. I'm proud to have written it, but I'm actually kind of more grateful to have written it because of what it says. I was raised to be a nice Jewish boy, and I like to think I still am, but I also really, as best I can, wherever I can, I really take a stand for humanity. Maybe that's what I love so much about Nemo, is he does that, right? He goes wherever he can to take his stand for humanity. And I stand for humanity. I sing for humanity. My record label is called Humanity Music. My studio is called Humanity Music. And One Power is 5 of the most coherent minutes I've ever composed to explain how I see humanity as being one group, one species, one family, and that being good and kind brings us together in a way that transcends rules or definitions or walls or boundaries or languages or faiths. It's actually fundamentally not about that. And I, at least, and maybe you hear it also in the Breathe the Same Air song, I at least can imagine a day when the membership card you carry doesn't separate you from me simply because I carry a different membership card. Or maybe we surrender our membership cards and just allow us all to be human and together instead of separated by what are clearly artificial distinctions that we make. So it's a song that I mean. What can I tell you, Robert? I just mean it.
Right on. Yes. And I love that concept, to be human together.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, thank you again, sir, for being with us, folks. We're going to listen to One Power. We're done for the day. We're going to let Daniel get back to his busy schedule and his work. Thank you for being with us on Real Conversations. Please be sure to check out the back catalog of artists and all the great interviews we have done. And a quick thank you to the New Thought Media Network for making all of this possible. Daniel, thank you again, buddy.
Thank you.
There's one power invisible, and you see it
everywhere and every day. One power indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth, as simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, different clothing, different colors, different names. Different is only dangerous when we forget that in the heart we're all the same. And we'll remember once we close our eyes to see that such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem or heaven's door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, or it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. Oh, it's the power of the love in you and me. One power. Oh, one power. One power. It's what we are. One power. One power. It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon, for it's love that's most deep. It's one power. It's one power. What we are is one power of the love that lives forever in you and me. It's the power of the love in you and me.
Thank you for listening to Real Conversations, exploring the meaning behind the music. Real Conversations is produced by the New Thought Radio Network, sharing a vibration of love, positivity, and empowerment through a variety of media streams. Learn more on the web at newthoughtmedianetwork.org. Listen to past episodes of Real Conversations on the podcast page at newthoughtradio.net. Until next time, peace and blessings. Go forth and prosper.